my name's Jarryd Judd and welcome to the Data Stands Body YouTube channel. Today we're exploring maintenance iteration 11 and the iteration candidates that have been nominated for this particular iteration. As part of maintenance iteration 11, the first period or set of objectives is to nominate the iteration candidates. What we're going to do today is explore these iteration candidates so the community is aware of what is being discussed. The maintenance iteration is an important ceremony or component of consulting on the consumer data standards and includes making minor changes through to major recommendations or feature inclusions for the consumer data standards. The maintenance iteration is held on a fortnightly basis and is open to all community members from the consumer data right to participate from all sectors. So if you're not already part of it, we do invite you and highly encourage you to be part of this important consultative process. Now, where to find the iteration candidates? Now, these can be found in one place, but there are multiple ways to find and review all of these changes in a list. Now, the first off is it's in the standards maintenance repository on GitHub. So that's the best place to start. There are a number of issues that are lodged against this repository, and you can look through all the suggested changes for the consumer data standards. However, there are a lot. So to really narrow down to the ones that we want to talk about today, we're going to go into the project that is on standards maintenance. Now, this project board is like any other workflow board that is used from your Agile or Kanban or any other methodology that you follow, and this just captures and organizes the information to a more consumable format. So you can click the Projects tab up the top, navigate down through to the standards maintenance or the maintenance iteration project board, and then that opens up and you can get a view in each of the columns of the different work that's being undertaken. Now, the one that we're focusing on today is the iteration candidates. Now, you can see there are 13 issues here, so there's a lot to cover today. I'm going to give a brief overview or summary of each. I'm not going to dive into the deep detail or discussing of the pros or cons. The intent here is to communicate to all of you what is upcoming and what you need to be part of for the maintenance iteration. Alright, so let's get started in walking through the iteration candidates. Up first, we're going to group together a number of the changes. We're going to look at ones that have common tagging associated with them and a common theme that we can talk about to make it easier. So up first, we have security. The first issue that we're going to cover today is issue 435. This is a security-based issue, has been raised in the maintenance iteration and covers that whilst implied, the data standards are not clear on the relationship between the logged in user and the associated customer data. This may create some ambiguity for non-individual consumers and nominated represented scenarios. This issue then explores these scenarios and proposes a number of changes. On top of that, this also has some suggestions from the community in it. As with all our tickets, we do encourage people to comment and be part of the consultation process. The next ticket is 480, again a security themed ticket. In version 1.13 of the Consumer Data Standards, introduced a potential change to the pseudonymity of Pairwise Identifiers. This is an important and complex change that needs to be explored and again is part of maintenance iteration 11. Up next is issue 491. So in the translation of ID token algorithm selection considerations from the register design when it moved to the consumer data standards, there's a requirement for a particular type that was not clearly defined and potentially adds confusion to the differing support requirements for each participant type. This is part of maintenance iteration 11. For issue 489, which is up next, there's a request to remove some of the ambiguity introduced for the x-fapi-auth-date variable. Finally, for issue 500, we have the last security change. This change covers whether or not an accredited data recipient should initiate the authorization code flow with PKCE if the data holder does not support this flow. Again, a very complex and interesting topic that's being explored by the community and suggested and been incorporated as part of maintenance iteration 11. Now that wraps up our changes for security. We'll now move on to the next section, which is the register. And first up for our register changes is 431. This change outlines that a register participant's status does not detail the data holder behaviour when an accredited data recipient is revoked and the software product is inactive. This has cascade rules that imply that the status of an accredited data recipient that is revoked and the software product inactive is not in a valid state. However, it is not clear whether the registrar will make that software product from inactive to active and then remove it, or directly to removed. There's a request that without this information, data holder responsibilities and documentation may be incomplete. Again, very complex issue there. I've tried to explain as best as I can so each of you can get involved. Up next for 484. These are changes to the SSA error behavior and a request to incorporate some of the suggestions from the community there, which you can explore by reading the issue. Then we have 486. This is to allow accredited data recipients to specify scopes for a Software Statement Assertion, or SSA, to support cross-industry software products. And for 481, we have a request that from two changes that were incorporated in version 1.15 of the Consumer Data Standards, and they had linked issues, which are the issues 425 and 424, there was a constraint that was defined that in the short term, data holder brands will only be able to align to a single sector. 481 seeks to explore this particular constraint and look at some remedies or solutions that are proposed as part of the issue. And that wraps up our changes that have been proposed or iteration candidates for maintenance iteration 11. Up next, we have energy as the next major segment. So there are a number here. Up first, we have 502. Now this is requesting that we review the enumerated values for the representation of days in the energy standards as a whole as part of the consumer data standards. This has some implications for each of the enumerated values, but again is a request from the community to explore and work through this as part of the broader working group. Next, we have 495. This is for the GetAgreedPaymentSchedule endpoint. It's been highlighted that the manual payment section should have payment frequency instead of bill frequency. So as a consumer who makes a manual payment based on an installment schedule or a payment schedule, which could be weekly, fortnightly, or monthly, this is different to a billing schedule, which may be monthly or quarterly. There's been asked for clarification and change included here, and again, will be worked through as part of the iteration. And finally, for the energy sector, for 485, we have the alignment of common data clusters across sectors. So some changes have been introduced in the latest version, and there's a request for clarification and to potentially remedy this as part of the change. This will be explored. And finally, for our last section is around consumer experience. And so for ticket 470, the ticket requests that the customer data standards language in the banking language section differs depending on whether the customer is a business customer or an individual customer. This could be potentially problematic at the time that collection consent is requested, as data recipients will be unable to determine which case will apply until they interact with the get customer or get customer detail endpoints. This action cannot be completed until the authorization process is complete. So again, a complex change that's asking for some clarification. And that wraps up our changes that have been included as part of iteration candidates for the 11th maintenance iteration. As you can see, there are varying levels of complexity and a lot of detail contained within each of these issues. We really encourage the community to be part of this process, to read through each of these issues. If you have comments, feedback, insights, or information that may assist, we ask that you include that as part of the process. If you're unable to make the regular meetings that the group have, and there is approximately 40 to 50 people attending on a regular basis, there are minutes and agenda that are posted for each meeting, so you're able to keep up to date with that. As well as part of the Data Stands Body newsletter, we do our best to include all changes and communications out to the community to keep you informed of change. As always, we encourage you to be part of this process. These are changes that are added to the standards that are consulted with the community, wrapped up, signed off, and then incorporated into the next version of the standards. So if you would like to make a change, if you find something that I've walked through today as being interesting or you'd like to be part of, please reach out to contact@consumerdatastandards.gov.au. We'll include that in the description below if you'd like an invitation, or you can always be part, hit us up on our GitHub and ask for requests there as well. That's all I have for today for maintenance iteration. Thank you for your attention. Thanks for being part of the Consumer Data Stands, and I'll catch you online.